There we go. There's always something that's not quite right. Welcome to TGI Friday. I hope you can hear me. There's always a little bit of technical difficulties and last second changes. So today we are going to take a look at a very infamous set of puzzles that Ontario knows very well. If this is your first time tuning in, it is TGI Friday, where at Cache the Line we meet every month on the last Friday to hang out live as friends and geocachers and do, well, something. This month, I'm excited to have with me a couple of Ontario geocachers who are way up there on the puzzling ladder. But first, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, your comments, your interactions, all of that. They're appreciated. I started this channel 3 years ago, and it's crazy how much it's grown, and we're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Almost there. Just a couple hundred to go. If you're new here, geocaching is a healthy, fun, adventurous, and in today's world, it's something we can do that kind of unites us all around something for a change. Special thanks to all the patrons who help support what I do to help continue to create and hopefully inspire and entertain. And if you'd like to help support the channel, then please consider it. And you can visit patreon.com/cachetheline to and check out all of the perks of joining the fam. I have been hammering away at a variety of projects. There's more than just videos, so stay tuned for announcements and big news. And plus, of course, the upcoming road trip geo tour that the first video has just published today. So if you haven't already, check it out. And so, because of this pandemic, so much stuff has been going virtual, which is why I thought it'd be great to hang out monthly like this. And tonight, there is a giveaway for people in live chat. I'll announce that in a bit, but if you want a chance to win, be sure to comment #PuzzleCube in chat to get your name into the draw. And there's also a special bonus giveaway of $15 to Shop Geocaching for patrons that will be drawn on October 2nd. So if you're a patron by the end of September and you enter, then you could win. And so stay tuned for those details as well. Without further adieu, we will get our guest on here, I think. Yes, there we go. Just 1 second while I get something set up here. Boom. There we go. All right. So, let me... Hey, did that? Yes, that did. Okay. Let's get our special guest in here. That is, this. We have andreanel and koroleva. A&K. And now you're
Hi,
unmuted.
everyone.
There we go. So welcome. You are the owner of this puzzle cube. Literally a cube. There's 81 puzzles in there. And if you don't know what this cube is, it is basically an 81 grid. So there are difficulties and terrains from 1-1 to 5-5. That's 81 different combinations. And I think there are a couple of them around. But first of all, how are you doing? And are you watching intensely all of these caches that have been published for 3 years now? Can we hear you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to see the logs coming in, trickling in at this point. But it's always very exciting to see, especially when somebody gets a new solve. We have notifications set up for our geocheckers. So if something new is solved, we do get a notification.
Mm-hmm.
Or when one of the long unfound ones gets found, which has happened, I believe, twice so far this year. So yeah, it's quite exciting.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been caching? How many caches have you found? How many do you own?
So we've been caching as a team since 2012. Individually, we started a little bit earlier, I believe in 2010. So it's been 10 years. We've only found 3,127, which is a lot less than some other cachers who have been caching for about that long or even less time than we have. Um, because I think we focus a lot more on hiding. So we've actually hidden 654 caches, and 200 of those are puzzles. We have also 4 active geo arts. So the 81 Cube is one of them. The other one is called the Giga, the Great Inukshuk Geo Art, also in the Muskoka area of Ontario.
There it is.
We
It's
we
yep,
have yeah
yep. That's a
there.
combination of multis, traditionals, and mysteries. And yeah, that's another geo art there. I think that one, the whole geo art has been found, if I recall. There's no
Yes,
FT,
that's correct.
no first to finds there. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, we have a new one called the Muskoka Snowflake, which we just placed this winter, and
Mm.
that's to the west of Gravenhurst, near Hardy Lake. And then we've got another geo art, which is called Out of the Box. That's down in the Mississauga Oakville area.
Right.
We've also had one geo art that was archived, which is the Muskoka Chair.
Oh, right. So I think I've seen that one. I know I've seen Out of the Box, and those that wasn't your first foray into puzzles, though, was it? I don't think. But yeah,
No, we've
I
been doing puzzles for quite a while, but geo arts, I believe the Muskoka Chair was the first geo art that we created out of puzzles.
oh, okay. Yeah, because I looked at some of those puzzles in the Out of the Box, and that was kind of my introduction to A and K puzzles. I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So this well, obviously you must have used a little bit of an algorithm to figure out the posted coordinates for all of these caches because it looks very specific.
Hmm. So I can't speak to that part of it because Andre, my partner in crime, is the one that has set all of that up.
Mm,
I believe he uses an Excel sheet, as well as some other like geo. I think he might use GPS visualizer as well.
yeah,
Some other tools there to get the layout just right, and he can actually do things like scaling it or slightly moving it from side to side.
right.
He's got a method. I'm not familiar with it, but he knows what he's doing with that.
Yeah, and yeah. So to take a little bit of a wider look, there's Gravenhurst, which is just to the west of the GeoArt, and this whole region to the east, like this is all wilderness. I don't think there's any towns or anything out here. Just lots of lakes and rivers, and let me get the satellite imagery. Like it's just forest and wilderness. It seems ripe for geocache placements. And so there's something unique about this grid. I'm mapping using Project GC because I've found some of these caches and I've solved some of them, and it's really hard to find a way to see the original cube. These are also premium caches, premium members only, right? So if you are a non-premium member, you wouldn't be able to see this grid. Is that, did you choose that specifically because they're in like a wilderness, they're kind of more advanced, or were you trying to maybe hide them from basic, or was there a reason for making them premium only?
I can't remember what the reasoning was. Possibly because most of them are located in a wilderness area, like a backcountry area.
Mm,
That some of them were quite high terrain. A lot of them, there are no trails going to them, and they require quite a bit of bushwhacking.
mm,
Um, and yeah, I think that was kind of the main reasoning behind that.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they're all in that area, and I remember I took a little trip down Gull Lake, and I don't think on that trip there was any No spoilers. I don't think there was any on that lake. There's a whole bunch of traditionals around there now, but
There are
yeah,
some that are paddle only.
yes. So that was one of the other points. There are 81 grid geocache series in quite a lot of locations, and they could be made up of different cache types and stuff. And I think the GeoArt is one of the easier ways to accomplish that because they can be puzzles and you can just make them mysteries and move them wherever you want. And I've seen things like the square, like an actual grid of 9x9 puzzles. This is the first that I've seen that's an actual like 3D cube. And but the thing about these 81 grids, I remember Geo Woodstock. There was one that was placed, and love it or hate it, the terrains arguably weren't accurate to the actual caches, because a lot of people just wanted to get the whole 81 DTs in one day, in one trip. So they placed the whole series, and a lot of people who went to the Giga event down there managed to complete a whole 81 in a day. So the thing that I liked about this particular grid is that the terrains are accurate, are relevant. Like you said, you have to paddle to a lot of them. I don't know if there's any tree climbs, but considering the fact that it's placed out in this whole wilderness, I mean, you've got a smorgasbord of terrains to place however you like. I do know that some of the one terrains are in town. Some of the easier difficulty puzzles you can take a look at and pretty much easily solve, and they could be lampposts and whatnot. So the thing about that I liked about this series is that the terrain is accurate and the difficulties, relatively speaking, from 1 to 5 are accurate. Some people might think your difficulty 2s are more like a difficulty 7, but from your 1 to 5, they're good.
So the way the difficulty rating works for these caches is that the difficulty rating applies to both the puzzle and the hide. So if it's a difficulty 5, the puzzle is going to be difficulty 5, but the hide is also going to be difficulty 5. So you might need a special tool, or it might be really well camoed. And I do believe there are a couple of tree climbs as well for those higher terrains.
Okay, good. I can look forward to that. If I could ever solve. I really like. I have worked on some of these, and I think I've looked at all of them. It's a lot of puzzles to take a look at and try to remember, but some of them I just looked at and just I have no idea. But the easier ones, I think I've gone through all of the ones that are relatively easy to solve. But if I've kind of hit a wall on the others, then I've kind of pushed it off for now. And the other thing about this series, I think currently, you said that there are 6 of them still unsolved, and 7 or 8 that are still unfound and FTF available.
8 unfound, 6 unsolved.
Yeah, and because you do have checkers on all of them, I think.
All of them should have a geochecker.
Yeah.
And we do encourage you to use the geochecker because, especially for the higher terrain ones where it might not be clear how to access the cache, if you enter the correct coordinates in the geochecker, it will give you additional details like where to park, where the trail head, or where to access the area.
Yeah. And I like that you did that, like because especially down in the forested areas here, there's a whole lot of there aren't any real official trails. I think there's some ATV trails, but a lot of this there's some bushwhacking, some game trails. Like if you look at this GeoArt, I mean, the physical ones are at GZ. Like there's nothing there but forest and rock. And so somehow you managed to locate places to put geocaches that you can make this shape of the Inukshuk. So I love that you did that. And we'll take a look at some of the puzzles in a bit. But the other thing that I liked about your puzzles is that they're, I would say, non-typical. They're not like a standard let's take a common puzzle idea and just make a geocache from it with a new idea. Like they're all unique in the sense that there's either some kind of twist or maybe there is like an encryption that you've used, but it's not. Yeah, it's fairly unique and new ideas, ways of using skills and information to hide the coordinates. Do you know like where you got your puzzling ideas? Or did you bring any extra skills or special knowledge to the table for that?
Um, so Andre is the primary puzzle creator, but we do brainstorm quite a bit together.
Mm-hmm.
So where we get our puzzle ideas or inspiration, puzzle books, um, like the How to Puzzle Cache geocaching book. Other puzzles that we've seen or that we've solved and that we really liked, we might kind of use those as inspiration. Andre's got a kind of a math, physics, engineering background, so a lot of our puzzles are kind of math, geometry, physics, that type of thing, because that's his realm. That's what his background is. So like sometimes we'll pull questions from math contests or ideas from math contests, or even tests that he's done in the past that have had something to do with geometry or engineering. So those are kind of where we get many of our ideas. The lower difficulties are your typical things like your Sudoku, your cryptograms, things like that. Once you get kind of to the higher difficulties, it gets a little bit more specialized.
Yeah, like the easier ones, if there's tools and quick solvers and stuff, then it's not going to be as obviously as difficult, because the tools and knowledge to solve those puzzles are easily accessible as well. And I mean, there could be a lot of discussion about whether to add hints. I know there's some cache owners that will put out difficult puzzles and not include a hint and not give any hints until the first to find is claimed, and then they might add a hint. I'm not sure. Have you done that in the past? Like, are you adding hints now for some of them once they're found, or are you just leaving the hints off entirely?
I think for consistency, we had chosen not to put any hints. We are kind of waiting also until after FTF, because I know that some people at this point have been working on them for a long time. If a hint is going to be posted, most likely it'll be on the cache page, so it'll be fair to everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most of the hints are still blank at this time.
I know there's quite a lot of people, I think, who are waiting for some hints on some of those those. I think they're all 5 difficulty. I think there's maybe a couple 4.5s.
There's 2 4.5s and 4 5s that are still unsolved.
And no hints. Still working on it. See, at some point, you just look at a puzzle long enough and something might click. And then that's, when you're, people who are watching these puzzles, when you're looking at the green and the red checker and just waiting, did somebody get the green yet? And then somebody gets the green and you know that, okay, the cache is going to get found at some point. But we still don't know if it was like a test, because sometimes a checker might have a green because the cache owner checked the checker, and it could throw everybody off because they thought, oh, somebody's already solved it. But apparently, no, yes, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Is it 7 or 8 that are No, 6 unsolved.
There are 8 unfound, and of those 8, 6 are still unsolved.
Yeah. Well, we'll check those out in a second. To show people just a little bit of what it's like out there, I recently took a little bit of a last year after the pandemic started, some of us went out to that area because we managed to FTF. We solved a whole bunch of them and went to find them. And just along the trail, you can see just what that environment is like. It's just beautiful. There's Dave. Dave is in chat. That is DGAS. He joined us for that little hike. And I think the red Coke cooler, that's one of yours, I believe. I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. Like the sometimes I'm just speechless sometimes with these. Like the way that you found a spot for this thing out in the middle of the wilderness, and the positioning is a little off. There we go. You can kind of see.
We checked on that one this year.
Yeah, and it is still alive and well. But that was a fun one. Why is the positioning on that picture off? Oh well. It was a great hike. It was a beautiful location, and yeah, the terrain, even just for the hike, can be pretty extreme in places. We crossed a couple of streams, some some water between rocky hills, and I think you also have hints. I'm not sure. I don't think that's a spoiler, but there are some things in caches where there's like colors and numbers for. That is yours, right? There was a whole bunch of pictures for that day. I'm pretty sure this was yours. Was that for another puzzle, or was that like a series final? I can't remember. Or was that a different series?
What are you talking about? If you
Oh,
show it to me, then...
the popsicle sticks, colored popsicle sticks with a number on them.
Oh, yes, that's for a different series. That's for a
Okay,
paddle series.
right. Okay, so that must have been on the way. So that must have been near another cache. That might be what it is. There's so many caches to take a look at. And
That area is very full. We have our own map of where everything actually is,
mhm.
and that place is like full.
But and so I guess that was another question that I had then was like how did you find these locations? Because you obviously know the area very well, and like how many times have you been out there? You made up the map of all of the routes and trails that you could use to get the caches without the locations, obviously. But yeah, like how well do you know that area? How much have you explored?
So yeah, we've been out there lots of times now. We discovered it by kind of looking for, I guess, crown land to explore. So we have a few conservation reserves in and around Gravenhurst. So we just looked at the crown land map and kind of looked and see, okay, where can we go? What's back there? So we've paddled, we've hiked, we've snowshoed or skied into those areas, and it's beautiful in every season. So yeah, we did quite a bit of scouting work um, to see what the location's like, where to access them, where to access it from, what's the best mode of access, what's the best season to access it in. So yeah, quite a bit of work done there.
Yeah.
We made a few trips into the various areas where the caches are hidden. Some of them are hidden along trails. Many of them are not. Um, and yeah, that took a bit of time. And then as we got a little more familiar with the area, then we placed our second geo art, which was the Inukshuk.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do remember now that was the pictures there were in this area. That crossing of the water, I think, was right. I think it was this gap, if I recall. We were going for this traditional of the Giga Granite, and we had to cross over a little bit of water. I think that was it there. And some of the other puzzles. I mean, if there, chances are, if there's a gap here, there's some kind of puzzle cache there, or multi-final, one of those two. But yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's great to get out to that area and explore and enjoy it. But to find those caches, I think there's a lot of people also holding off finding some of these because it's such a wilderness that you want to plan ahead. Because the worst part is, say, going on a trail and finding a few, but then there's a hole, and you know there's a geocache there, and you're walking by it to get another one that you know. So I think a lot of people are trying to solve as many as possible before going out to find them, just in case there's one on the way that you're going to miss. Because it's not like you're driving or roadsides and you can just go there anytime. These are fairly significant hikes with difficult terrains, and doing a hike out into the middle there for an hour or two to find one cache that you didn't know you passed by the last time, it's not a small deal.
We had someone recently who was in the area. They found the container of one of the puzzles, but they hadn't solved it yet.
Right.
And so they sent me a picture of it and they asked, "What is this? Can we log it?" I'm like, "Did you sign the logbook?" And they're like, "Oh, was it a cache?"
And I've kind of
So,
wondered about that as well because, yeah, like by the rules, if you sign it, then you can log it. If they know what cache it is, then they can log it as found. But what happens if you don't know what cache it is? You kind of have to solve them all, or solve them until you figure out which one it is.
mm-hmm.
But what if somebody else solves it and then signs it before you figure out where it is? Maybe in comments, let us know, what would you do in that situation? You found a cache and you signed it. We've probably all done this and looked at the map and you know what cache it is, so you log it as found because it was unexpected find. But if it's a puzzle final and you haven't solved it and you don't know which cache it is, but you've signed the log, and then someone else comes along, solves the puzzle, and signs the log under you, and they log it found, what would you do then? When you actually solve it, would you claim an FTF? Or would you maybe just explain? I don't know. That's interesting. What would you do in that situation? It seems like it could be pretty rare.
Actually, this year we had a situation like that on one of the cubes that had not been found yet. And we had some cachers going in to keep their streak up, a very long streak of FTFs, monthly FTFs. And they got to one of the high terrain ones where you have to either bring an inflatable boat or you have to paddle and portage. And it's just in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And they get there and they're like, there are signatures in the log. So muggles had found the cache like 3 years ago and logged their names in it. And then 3 years later, the geocachers who FTF'd it actually, I guess it's up to them whether they claimed the FTF or not.
Yeah.
I think they did, and we did encourage them that they should. But muggles had gotten to it like 3 years ago.
Yeah. And then what if those
Shortly after it was
muggles?
placed.
Yeah. And if they become geocachers, then technically they were the first to find. They just weren't geocachers at the time. Let's quickly look at the prizes we're going to give away. If you are in chat, make sure that you are adding your name. Let me just double check to make sure that it is in fact counting. It's somewhere. Oh, here we go. Let me just double check this. Why? Let's try this again. Yeah, you should be. Oh, I misspelt it. That's why. There we go. Now, yes. Okay, we are moving ahead. Okay, so let's quickly look at the prize we're going to give away. If you are in chat, make sure you're commenting #PuzzleCube. You'll be in the draw at the end of the hangout for a special exclusive hint from A&K to one of the Puzzle Cube puzzles. If there's something that's been eaten at you and you just don't have, maybe haven't asked anybody or nobody is, I don't know, whatever the reason, you're going to ask them and they'll decide whether... Will you give a hint to an unfound or unsolved puzzle?
We've kind of discussed it. I think Andre is a little bit more reluctant. If we do, we may choose to place it on the cache page.
Okay. Yeah, they've been around for three years. I think it'd be reasonable. But that's up to you.
His concern was that if somebody's been working on it for 3 years and is really close, and then like we give a hint, then they might be mad. But
so yeah, you can talk to them and they'll decide whether it's reasonable to give you a hint to the one that you asked for. But they'll give you a hint. And I'm also throwing in a $5 gift card to Shop Geocaching, so you can use that for something geocaching related. And we also have a special, exclusive, one-of-a-kind Travelbug prize from Cacher's Corner Store, who is a patron of Cache the Line, but he is going to also throw in a little bit of a gift for the winner of somebody in chat. That is Cacher's Corner is his website. You can go check him out there, and without the spaces, obviously. But that is Brian. He's awesome. He's into doing a whole bunch of 3D printing containers and travel bugs and whatnot. So he is going to throw in a little prize for the winner from tonight. So make sure you get your name in there. There is
While
also...
we're on that topic, if you excuse me, I want to show you something.
Ooh. This is unscripted. Let's make sure that she's got the room. Okay. And, oh, here we go.
We've got an 81 grid geocoin that we've been keeping in anticipation for whoever first finds the whole series.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the first person to
We
find
still
all
have
of
it.
the caches.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. That's a nice coin. So there's a long way to go for that. But I know where you're coming from. I have my own challenge cache as well that I have a geocoin reward that I'm going to be giving out. So there's incentive for completing this whole series. And so we also have another giveaway for patrons of Cache the Line, and that prize will be drawn on October 2nd, and that includes a $15 gift card to Shop Geocaching. So if you're not a patron yet, there's another incentive just to join the fam on top of all the other perks that you can get at whatever tier that you choose. You can visit patreon.com/cachetheline, and there are all the details. Any patron. So this is how. If you are a patron and you email me, thebruce@cachetheline.net, your nemesis puzzle cache. So if there is a geocache puzzle that you have been working on and you cannot solve and it's been bugging you maybe for years, email me that puzzle and you will be entered into that draw. And that's just for patrons. And that draw will happen on October 2nd. So you've got a little bit of time. Just make sure you're a patron by the end of September, and you'll be able to be entered into that draw for an extra $15 gift card to Shop Geocaching. I like to do that sometimes for patrons just to keep things fresh and fun. And shortly, we'll also be announcing the winner of this month's Mega, which is the monthly Excellent Geocaching Adventure contest that I run from the Facebook group Excellent Geocaching Adventurers. Every month for a whole week, there is a post where you can share photos, your story from a great adventure, a geocaching adventure from that month, and everybody can vote on what they think is a really cool adventure, fun, whether it could be a great photo or just the story behind it. Last month, the photo wasn't like absolutely gorgeous nature or anything like that, but the story behind it was really I guess it just really affected people. And so it's hopefully a way to get us thinking about the adventures that we go on and the fun that we can have while geocaching. And so go to Excellent Geocaching Adventures on Facebook, and or I guess the easier way is cachetheline.net/EGA. That'll take you there. And while this month's draw is done and we'll announce the winner at the end of the stream, next month we'll be coming up again for every TGIF, thank goodness it's Friday, week. So watch for that, join and participate, and you could win. The prize for that is the exclusive to the Facebook group EGA Path Tag. Let's see if I have it right here. Let's see if this works. This is specific and exclusive to the EGA. There we go. Say yes to Excellent Geocaching Adventures. Yeah, anyway, so that will be yours, the winner of this week's Mega giveaway. So, good luck. Watch the little ticker below. There's information if you're watching, just to make sure you know how to enter the chat giveaway. So, getting back to the series, how long did it take you to place this whole series?
It's a kind of a hard question to answer. So, as mentioned before, we scouted out the area, and that took several trips. Kind of over time, one day we decide to go for a hike and we check out this area. We decide to go for another hike and we check out a different area. Um, Once we kind of had the general idea of where they were going to go, once we brainstormed kind of the puzzle ideas for each difficulty level and which areas kind of corresponded to different terrain levels as well. Then we created our paper charts for field planning and like writing notes and stuff when we were out there. Then when we kind of had all that prepared, we had 3 primary trips into the backcountry areas. That was 3 full days, 10 kilometers of hiking each day in places where there are no trails. So like crossing beaver dams and things like that, using chest waders even in some places. Bushwhacking with backpacks full of caches and supplies, placing the hides back there. And then after that, we had several additional trips to place paddle caches, as well as caches that were kind of outside of those the main area where they're located. Some of them are on different trails, so that might have been done at a different time. Some of them are in town in Gravenhurst. So again, that was kind of a different trip. So I'd say at least a week.
A week
probably
seems
more.
short. For that, like 81 caches, even just for most people maintaining 81 or placing, let alone maintaining 81 caches is a whole lot of work. But this is also high terrain. Yeah, like you said, out in the wilderness type stuff. Like doing that all in a week, I could just imagine was just way intense.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. And like the whole concept and the planning and all of that, definitely, like I would say months, rather than weeks. But the majority of the caches, I would say, were placed within a week.
And then coming up with all the puzzles as well, like that must have taken even longer because like you're trying to come up with puzzles that align to the difficulties that you're placing, right? And then whether people know your style of puzzles, do they know how would they rate this difficulty on your scale as cache owners?
Yeah, so I'd say like we placed most of the caches in the springtime before the area gets a lot of bugs. And then they were published around sometime in the middle of the summer. So I'd say it took a couple of months to work out all the puzzles, to like classify them as per their difficulty ratings and kind of come up with a few like special ideas for kind of the harder ones.
Yeah.
And then preparing the graphics and stuff for all of those too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice when they're just plain text, but if you've got images, like quite a number of these puzzles have graphical components, and creating all those is another task in itself. I just added the bookmark link below, so if you want to take a look at the 81 caches and see which ones you can solve. If you're not in Ontario, you might be able to. Wouldn't you make people in Ontario jealous if you could solve some of these unsolved caches and you can't find them because they're in Ontario? Actually, and there was another thing. When I was with those friends and we did that hike down there, there was at one point where we crossed paths with somebody else in the forest, and they mentioned, like, we happened to be turning off at that point, making a turn to go for another cache, but they basically said, yeah, if you go further, they just came across some bear feces. And so have you had any encounters with wildlife while you were out there, either maintaining or placing or anything, or dangerous wildlife?
I don't think so. I know that the area can be used for hunting, so we've seen evidence of hunters, like traps or like trail cams and things like that. We haven't actually encountered any bears. However, Andre, at one point when he was walking down there, he found a bear den, and he saw like fresh bear footprints like going away from the den, and he's like, oh, that means he's gonna come back, so let me get out of here.
So
there's definitely wildlife out there.
Yeah, and so it is recommended that you wear bright clothing and be prepared for whatever you might encounter out there, because it is wilderness. And is it all crown land? Because there are some cottages and some properties and stuff in the area.
Yep, there are some properties kind of bordering on that area. But most of the caches, if not all of them, most of the caches would be placed on crown land. Like the ones in town would be more like public town property. I don't think any of them are on private property or require any like front yard or anything like that. But most of them are placed in conservation reserves.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
on like public use trails or things like that.
Yeah, and finding parking for some of the trail access is can also be pretty fun.
Yeah, there's not a lot of parking at some of them. So if you are kind of planning an expedition out there and you have questions about any specific areas or parking or access, then please reach out to us and we'll kind of direct you on how best to access the area.
Yeah, you want people to be safe, obviously, when doing that. We can take a look at some of the puzzles that are out there. To have some fun, if we take a look at the 5-5 first. This is one that, oh, you know what? I might have to. I have personal notes that might have the answer in it, so I'm just gonna scroll, and let's look at the puzzle. Yeah, so this is a 5 difficulty, and it is electronics. So I don't think there was anything super difficult with this one if you know math and electronics, or no twist. But I think this is one that I'm trying to remember the height on this one now. But it's 5-5 for the cache on this one. This one did require special equipment, I believe.
That's the underwater one.
Yeah. Oh, that is. Oh no, I haven't found this one. I'm thinking of another one. I have it solved, but yes, it's a 5 terrain. It's a scuba cache. So you need scuba gear to get it. And I think that was.
I think snorkeling gear might be sufficient.
Okay.
I don't think it's that deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely don't have scuba gear, but if you have scuba gear, that would probably be good too.
Yeah, so it has not. This is one that hasn't been found yet. Not because of the difficulty of the puzzle necessarily, but because it's underwater.
While you had that up, it'd be good to point out as well that there are cache-specific tips. So at the top of the description, I've got kind of general season-specific tips for the whole series.
Yeah.
But some of the caches will have cache-specific tips. So it'll give you that's kind of the hint. If you're looking for like hints, that would be where the information would be.
Yeah.
So definitely take a look at the cache specific tips on those puzzles.
Yeah, and yeah, because even if it is just snorkeling, it's still underwater, and you still need a boat to get there. It's not like it's just off the shoreline. So the terrain is still definitely accurate. And I know I'm not an electrician. I did some research to figure this stuff out, but I didn't personally think this was the hardest puzzle cache. I was like, yay! I solved the 5 difficulty. The 5-5 solved it. I can't get it yet. But I think that the underwater ones, there's a number of people in our area who are doing well with the underwater caches. They're finding scuba, snorkeling caches and whatnot recently. So I'm kind of surprised this one hasn't been found yet. But there is a DNF.
It's been attempted.
So we also have the 4-5. This one is not solved. 4 difficulty unsolved. And this is just one of the examples of a whole bunch of numbers.
It's solved but not found.
Solved but not found, yes. I haven't... I think I looked at it at one point. I have a note that was counting factors as one idea, and that obviously didn't go anywhere. So, see, and these are the kind of puzzles that you love them or hate them, because it's either whether it's a leap or not. I'm torn with these types because it's pattern recognition. It's kind of a balance between trying to figure out what the commonality is between all the numbers, or the leap, which is what's the common connection, where looking at the numbers or playing with the numbers won't resolve anything, but they might all be related to something the same. And so that's the latter type. That's more of the leap. You've got to try to, you're looking around to find some, they don't relate to each other, but something else you've got to determine, versus the pattern recognition, where there's something common between all of them that you'll be able to notice by looking and playing with the numbers. And so it's good to see that it's been solved. Maybe somebody in chat, or if you're watching this video, he'll be able to figure it out. That's a 4 difficulty. We have another 5 difficulty, 3 terrain. This one is...
And keep in mind as well that just because there are numbers there doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do some kind of math or anything with it.
Right.
It could be a different type of puzzle that uses numbers.
Yeah. It's kind of like book ciphers, where the numbers aren't mathematical. They're just, you just need to know that it's a book cipher. You just need to know what book it is, and then you can use the numbers to find the answers, as an example.
Exactly.
This one, I know when I looked at this one, I'm like, what the heck? You got a grid. Now, see, there's a little bit of, you might be able to figure something out with the axes, going from 2 to 9, and then their alphabetical letters, but it's the same up and vertical and horizontal, and a 1 with an 8 and 7. And clearly you used Excel to create this puzzle, because there's some, and that's the other thing. I have a feeling that you know that the green tick is there, because that's in the image, and so I would assume that's part of the puzzle, because that, if you know Excel, that green tick is a little notice that Excel will give you if it thinks that there's something inconsistent between the result or the content of that cell with other adjacent cells. So it's interesting that there's a tick there.
The tick doesn't have anything to do with the puzzle.
Okay. There's a hint for the viewers. Because that's been bugging me for so long. I just want to mouse over that and see what the information is on that tick. Okay, so it is just... I think
he took a screenshot of whatever he was making, and it was there.
Okay. Whew. Okay, so yeah, in this case, it is really just a grid. I think, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 20 by 20, I think it is. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by 18, maybe. So if you can figure out... Hey, Andre's here.
So he came up with this puzzle, so you can direct your frustration at this guy right here.
Yes, you can kill me right here.
Send your emails.
Yes, that green thing, it's made in Excel, and it just happened because that +5.
Yeah.
It's not consistent, but it made it green triangle.
Yeah.
So green triangle doesn't have anything to do with puzzle.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that takes a little bit of weight off the puzzle solving here, except for the fact that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's it to determine an answer.
Yep.
I'm very excited to see.
Yes,
when
this
it gets
puzzle
solved.
is difficult because nobody made anything like that.
I think it's quite unique.
It's a unique,
It's quite unique, and a lot of people not familiar with that. And you have to get a little more familiar with that in order to solve it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because, yeah, it says there's only been one attempt even. Nobody even knows what to put in. I bet you that one attempt was the posted coordinates.
Exactly. Because we recommend people, when you have no ideas, try posted coordinates.
And you never know, because some owners have done that, just to put all the information for the puzzle in the checker.
I believe even one of the puzzles has posted coordinates that will give you next step.
Okay. There's another hint.
One of them. One of 81.
One of 81. Now everybody's going to go through the entire series and keep putting all the posted coordinates.
Yep. Go ahead. That's one of the recommendations.
So another unsolved puzzle, another 5 difficulty is the 5 4.5. This one, oh yes, I've played with this one as well. So this is just an animated GIF. I've taken this and taken out all of the frames and looked at all of the numbers, broken them apart. I think every frame is the same length, so there's nothing really between the length of time that each number is shown. And so I'm thinking that there's obviously some theme about time related to this. The numbers are all, well, I even marked out the ranges for each of the numbers, so like the minimum and maximum for each of the 3 sets. And anything it can, yeah, like you tear it apart. And nothing is over 60, so it's all 0 to 60. Or 24 is the first column. I don't think anything is over 24 hours. So it's something with the day as well, and the others are 60. So, it's time and days, and it is kind of interesting that the first one does have a 0 and a 24, because that means it could go over 24 hours. It could be 25 hours.
It hasn't been solved.
I remember I gave hint for this puzzle to someone.
No, somebody told us that they were close to getting it.
Okay.
And you kind of told them that they were close.
Okay.
So if you're watching, there's another one to try to work through. That's the 4.5, so 5 difficulty 4. We also have
You could ask something more simple so that we can just give some hints.
I think he wants to look at the
unsolved
ones.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Just going over the
Yeah.
to give people an idea. So this 5 difficulty 1.5. That's the puzzle. One line, whole bunch of letters. And the thing with something this size is that there's not really a lot to work with to whether you're brute forcing. There's not a lot of information that you can like relate to each other that you might be able to determine what an encryption method is. So it's really just a matter of looking at the letters and seeing, okay, there's like 6 or 7 letters that are repeated in this. So there's obviously some reason why only C, T, V, X, Y, Q, like some of these letters, it's not using the whole alphabet. So there's got to be a reason for that.
That one was my idea.
Yes.
You can direct your frustration to me.
That was her idea, and it's tough because you simply don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And you just have to accidentally come up with idea and actually try it and see if it will work.
Mm-hmm.
And if it will work, you're a lucky one.
Yeah. It's the kind of puzzle that a lot of people tend to hate. Like I was just mentioning before, the leap puzzles, the mental leap puzzles, where it's not so much a matter of being able to see a pattern and leading to an answer as it is trying to find something out there somewhere that works with what you've got to get the answer.
Exactly.
So it's a whole lot of trial and error.
This one's more of like you got to think outside of the box and use kind of different methods than you normally would. So normally you'd see, some text, you assume it's encrypted or it's a cipher or something like that.
Yeah.
And it may not be the case for all the puzzles that incorporate letters.
Yeah.
This one does need to require a bit of out of the box.
Yeah. Often when I design puzzles, I'm trying to get to the point when people solving it, getting aha moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And once they get aha moment, they get satisfaction from solving it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And and even looking at it to see, is there some kind of connection with coordinates? Like in this case, it's 5 letters, a space, and then a whole bunch of other letters. So there isn't even a visual connection to coordinates on this one.
Yes. I don't remember what that space doing that.
Oh, maybe that's an accident?
3 years ago, I made it, and sometimes I just have to solve it myself in order to give any hints.
Well, don't forget how to solve them.
We have a spreadsheet.
Yeah, we have notes.
It's been so long. Next up, we have a 4.5 difficulty, 5 terrain. This one has not yet been solved either. And it is, this pattern. So this pattern is somewhat familiar. There is another cipher. I think it was called XYZ or something like that. That was used with a band on their cover. I think it used a variant of Bodot or something like that. It's similar to that pattern, but obviously that's not the simple solution. Otherwise, it'd be solved by now. 10 attempts, 0 correct.
I'm actually surprised it haven't been solved yet.
So you think that it should be easier?
I think it should be easier, but for some reason, just people don't see it.
The way that it's presented, I think,
Probably
is what might be.
I remember I've taken this and I've put it into a text file and I've played with so many things and couldn't find even kind of a visual pattern. So maybe, I don't know, maybe to play with that one again. But yeah, 3 years. We have a lot of puzzlers and nobody's solved it yet.
Yeah. I think a lot of people kind of put it away.
Yeah, that too. You come back to it with a
fresh... waiting for right moment to just pull it out and look at it again with fresh eyes.
Yeah. We had a question from Minimag who asks, does each puzzle stand alone or do you need information from one puzzle to solve a different puzzle?
Every puzzle stands alone. So every puzzle has all the information to solve it.
Yeah, I don't think you're that evil to be like, one of these puzzles is reliant on solving another puzzle, or there's some kind of cross connection between the listings.
I didn't want people to get frustrated. I wanted them to solve tough puzzle, but not get fully frustrated with it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, like, none of these puzzles require information from other puzzles, but some of them may be based on some of our other puzzles, either previously or in different regions or areas.
Yes.
Yeah. So it might be helpful to take a look at some of our other puzzles, which might be similar.
And some archive puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because I had to come up with 81 ideas, and you very quickly run out of ideas. Mm-hmm. So I had to reuse some old puzzles or puzzles from different regions, which I just simply reused.
Or like built upon that idea or slightly altered it.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, you have puzzles and ideas that work, so you could reuse those same ideas, just rework them for another listing. We also have a 4.5, 3 difficulty puzzle. This one is... Oh, this one. I say that so often. Oh, this one.
That's actually one of the examples that you can look at other puzzles and you can see it. And it will help you to solve it.
So it's similar to an idea you've used before. Because the one thing that stands out with this one is that there's one with a 4,2 and everything. Oh, there's a 0,8 as well. I haven't looked at this for a while. So
that's because his Excel or whatever he uses is like a European, so it's a decimal.
Decimal, okay. 4.2, 0.8, okay. Well, there's another little hint. That might have... See, some of these things might have really been tripping people up. that could be...
I didn't know that's a problem.
Use a dot for the decimal.
Yeah. Red herrings. And there's 1.2 there. So there's some reason 3 of them have come to decimals.
Yeah.
But trying to find patterns in this...
It may or may not be relevant. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
So it's 0.8 and 4.2.
Yeah. And we're looking at these ones. I'm not seeking hints, but you got to be careful about what you say sometimes. We also have
We already gave a hint.
Yeah.
Just draw our puzzles and you will find similar one, and a lot of people solved it.
Yeah. So we also have the 5 difficulty 3 terrain. This one has also not been solved. And I know personally the first thing that comes to mind when I look at this is Doctor Who, that language.
Gallifreyan.
Gallifreyan.
Yeah.
No, it's not Gallifreyan, and I used Gallifreyan for one of the puzzles, for this series or no? I don't remember.
I don't know. We
I,
have
I like
200
Gallifreyan.
puzzles.
I like it, and I used it somewhere.
Mm,
But this is not Gallifreyan.
right. Because I've looked at this and I've tried that, and there's nothing comes from that. I've
This puzzle is simple but hard to actually technically to solve it, and
That's
I
why it's
was
a D5.
exactly I was concerned that maybe this one will be frustrating to people, and I tried to solve it myself manually, and it worked.
mm,
So
okay.
a little bit difficult as a from technical aspect, but it's solvable, and I
Yeah. Because I know when I looked at this one, I opened up in Excel and I started documenting all the circles, or a graphic program documenting the circles and how many lines were connected, how many arcs and all that in the bolded circles. Basically, just making numbers out of all of these things, and still couldn't find a pattern.
I'm actually
So
interested what people think about this puzzle because what they trying to how they trying to approach it.
because there's obviously something with the bolded circles. My thought is those are the numbers that you're trying to get. But then why would there be non-bold circles that also have information unless they're all red herrings or just for visual
I,
style?
I I should say that most of the puzzles don't have red herrings.
Okay, so everything
If
is
if
somehow
they
red.
have, so then it's accident, like that little green triangle. I didn't mean to put it there.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be piquing some interest again. I think I'm going to be looking at some of these puzzles again, mainly because there's still a whole bunch of unfound caches to find. But just looking at them again, the gears are starting to turn. And I know that there's a number of people in Ontario who are watching who are probably hoping to get some kind of a hint. But again, remember, if you have that hashtag puzzle cube in the comments, you can ask for a hint if you win, and they might give you one.
Just for all people who trying to solve them, I should say that we try and help people to solve them. So if you want to contact us, ask about certain puzzles, we are willing to give hints, but not for unsolved and unfound caches.
Right.
Just simply to be fair to people who work on it.
Yeah.
As some general hints as well to for our puzzles. As mentioned before, we often use math, physics, or geometry, or incorporate elements of those into our puzzles. And we, as you've also mentioned, we tend to do a lot of graphical representations of things, or graphical representations of coordinates, like binary black and white drawing a picture, or arrows drawing out numbers. Things like that are kind of common themes in many of our puzzles. So if you keep that in mind, it might help you to solve
Yes,
some of the more
often
difficult ones.
when you get graphical representation, you get that aha moment.
Because you see it in front
Exactly,
of you.
when you see it.
Yeah.
Numbers are appearing before your eyes.
Yeah.
I have an odd visual thing with the feed right now, and I'm just trying to figure out what the problem is. I'm not sure what's happening. There's a stray. It's just doubling the visual, the web page. Okay. What else was there? Oh, were there any GC codes that you wanted to take a look at? Or do you think that you'd be willing to provide a hint or something like that for anything? Any puzzle that's your favorite? Like one that you made that you love?
81 of them. I don't remember. I have to look.
What about the audience? Are there any puzzles that you guys
Anything
are
that stands out?
interested in discussing, or have been bothering you for a while?
Because some of if we take a look at, let's look at the 1-1. So we're just looking at the bookmark list right now, and you do have you have them sorted from 1-1 to 5-5. The the 1-1 difficulty just to see the range.
It has 3 favorites.
Yeah, 1-1 is, we decided to choose the most simple puzzle that right on the cache page
Yep.
used to be.
And there's even 0
think-
attempts and 0 correct. It's so obvious that nobody's even using the
Yes.
checker.
Exactly. However,
That could be because we updated the coordinates, no? Did we-
No, I don't think so.
Because we had to replace that one a couple times.
Hmm.
And we changed the puzzle slightly and changed the coordinates.
Actually, yes, you might be right.
Could be good to check the. So this is good for cache owners as well. If you update your puzzles, make sure you double check that your checker is also updated if there's a final.
Yes, and sometimes it's good to check logs, because it happened to a couple caches we had to move the cache, and if you solved it long ago, those coordinates might be wrong.
Right. Yeah, Red-Headed Fury about that other puzzle has said the circles look like Venn diagrams. I wonder if there's a theme that you could put something in all the circles and then, yeah, probably not. What else? Was there anything else? I have to be careful which ones I load up. Let's go. Let's take a look at. It's gonna be 2.5, 2. Or yeah, 2.5, 2. What this puzzle is like.
Difficulty 2.5, terrain 2.
Another electronics diagram.
2.5, 2.
Have I looked at this one? I think I looked at this one.
Oh. I think that puzzle is quite simple.
You made them, of course. They're quite simple.
I'm sorry. I meant few people use that type of puzzle, and I'm sure a lot of people seen.
Yeah, the resistance bands, the color values for resistance bands. I know that that's a fairly common method of encoding numbers and letters as well. That's been used before. So yeah, it's just a matter of figuring out where the information you need is. I'm guessing it would be north and west. I don't think I have looked at this puzzle. So north for the first one and west for the second one, and maybe the resistance value is the solution or something like that. The voltage is the value for the north coordinates, like not the degrees but the decimal minutes. Another way to look at that.
Something like that.
Something like that.
2.5 in the middle. It's not crazy hard, but it does require a little bit of extra knowledge to look up to solve.
For the lower difficulties, you'd probably find common puzzle themes. Just like for this one, it's the color value of the resistors. It's something that is commonly used in puzzles. So you wouldn't find something that's really way obscure.
I'm hesitant to open some of these. This one has been found, but I have a note. I'm not sure which ones have been. Here, I'll do this. Let's hide that, and I'll double check. So where's the 4.5, 4.5? Oh, that one should be good. Okay, we'll take a look at this one, and then we will get to the prizes. So the 4.5, 4.5. This one has been solved and found. Have I looked at? Yes. Okay, I have looked at this. Did you actually color this with pencil crayons?
Yes.
Yes.
I colored it.
I made the picture and she colored it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember looking at this, and I think I started moving things around to try to find a pattern. It's obviously like purple, blue, cyan, and green, but so there is a slight hue rainbow adjustment from layer to layer. But there's like five.
All
and
just
4.
a designer choice.
just for fun. Yeah, so there's something with the patterns and haven't
So one
solved.
of the hints I would give for this one is it solved, right?
It's
It's
solved.
solved.
Is it
Yeah.
found?
I think it's found.
Okay,
Yeah.
so one of the hints I would give is you have to be a little bit crafty with this one.
Correct.
It's a good hint.
Okay. Okay. There you go. There's another hint.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that one again. Man, it's piquing my interest. I'm gonna have to go through these again. Anyway, so that's an idea of what you can find on that 81 grid of puzzles. Legitimate range of unique ideas. On the easier end, sometimes common puzzles. On the hard end, you're gonna have to think out of the box a lot of the time.
Again, wanted to add for people who trying to solve and thinking of contacting us, please write what you have tried, what ideas you had, so that I'll have better idea what kind of hint to give you. Because if for this puzzle with the drawing, I may just say you have to be crafty, but people already been crafty, and I just didn't know that.
Yeah, it wasn't a helpful hint.
Exactly. So
Betty has said I think she was very disappointed to have DNF'd the 1-1.
oh,
To solve
it
the
happened
puzzle.
because the cache been missing a couple times.
Yeah.
Because difficulty 1, it's quite visible, and it got muggled.
Yeah.
We were about to replace it, and then like they were replacing the whole fence where the cache was. So we waited
Yeah.
for it to be like rebuilt, and then
Yeah.
we could replace it.
So it had a legitimate reason not to be there, not
Yeah.
necessarily muggled. Yeah. So if you are not in Ontario, then maybe you can take a look at the puzzles and get some ideas, or you can just solve some of them and have bragging rights.
If you're not from Ontario, try to solve them anyway. It won't hurt. You will get some experience, and you never know.
Right.
Maybe you will have a chance to just come for a day visit, or something will. Friends will say, "Let's go find caches in the area," and you will just happen to be there.
Yep. Oh yeah. The
Remember-
worst part is when you go on a road trip and you don't realize that you're passing caches that you could have found. So yeah, if you can solve it, go for it.
Our area is a tourist area, so it's quite
Well, yeah,
possible
like-
that somebody might find them visiting.
Yeah, this whole area is like the Muskoka Central Ontario area, and it's like this is part of Ontario that is just absolutely wonderful. The video
And
series
also
I'm
for
doing is
people who make puzzles, it's going to be a good kind of reference to difficulty of the puzzle. So if they're creating puzzle and don't know how to rate it, they can look at this chart and say, okay, this type of puzzle is around this difficulty.
the A and K scale.
Yes.
So yeah, like
Yeah, there's a. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
There's another 81 grid of puzzles in Canada, the one in Nova Scotia called the NS81.
Yeah.
So that came out maybe a year or two ago, and we've gone through that one. But for that region, we had noticed that the difficulty seems to be a little bit easier than what we rate our difficulty here. So it definitely does have a regional.
And again, that's the thing, because a lot of these challenges and grids, I mean, people make the puzzles. They may make them to their own idea of difficulty, but you never really know what you're going to get with somebody's puzzles until you try to solve them. But making the terrains also entirely relevant is a whole other thing. So this is the Nova Scotia 81. They literally made the grid with 81 numbers. The number's 81, and that is near Halifax. Oh, I'm gonna have to look at that one. I want to get a road trip down to Canada's oldest out here, so I might have to work on some of these puzzles and see if see if there's any drive-bys. So
We
that's
can
Nova
take a look
Scotia's.
at difficulty 3.5, terrain 2.5.
Take a look at that one. What's the GC?
GC 7P40E.
7T40E.
7P, I
P.
think.
7P.
Yeah. 7P40E. 3.5, 2.5. I haven't solved it. Oh, hey. Oh, interesting. No, I haven't looked at all of these. Ah.
So it's a simple Tetris concept,
Yep.
and you just have to play it, but you have to remember to remove the lines.
Right. So I actually created a puzzle similar to this near when I first started geocaching. And similar idea. Actually, it was kind of in reverse. My puzzle had the final layout of the Tetris
Yep.
game, and you had to figure out.
What
And you
had
had the
been
pieces
erased.
that were used, and you had to create that with the pieces,
Oh,
and then you'd know what the
Ah.
numbers are. So the final
that's
grid
how,
had empty
that's how I
spots.
get ideas for the puzzles.
Yeah, exactly. So you could take a look at some of these and maybe come up with something unique and original for your own puzzles. I'm gonna have to take a look at that one now, and I'm gonna have to go through this whole thing again. The other one that was raised to take a look at was this other. Nope, not that one. It was BMA 1468. That bookmark list. This one, where was it? So this, oh yes, this is the JLA cat, JCat, and so they have another 81 grid. I think one is potentially disabled, but it is in Georgia, and so this is the kind of style that there's a few like this where it's just a grid of 9x9, and not having really looked at this, I would assume that there's probably some relevance to the terrain ratings, because there's
Yes, I remember when we decided to make 81 grid, we didn't know what kind of art to make.
Mm-hmm.
And making just a rectangle or square was a little bit too simple. So we were trying to come up with some kind of way to make it more interesting and look good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we came up with a cube, because
And
usually it's a square. Now you have to come up out of the box,
yeah,
and you go in from 2-dimensional, you go into 3-dimensional, so you get a cube.
yeah. And one thing that I liked about your cube is that somehow you mathematically figured out how to get all 81 evenly
Yeah.
into a cube and still
That
have
was
like
another
a light,
puzzle
mid, and
mission.
shaded side. I think there's 5x5 in the middle of one side and 2x2 on the other. No, not 5. Yeah, 5x5 and 2x2. I think it is. And then, it's just really cool how it actually works mathematically to create.
I think I had to make a Excel sheet with all the formulas. I had to come up with formula to decide what size of the box it has to be.
Yeah. Okay, let's. Let's get into the prizes. So again, if you want to take a look at it, the bookmark code is there. I'll add that to the video description as well, and perhaps some other links, maybe to the other grids if you want to take a look. But if we go to our draw, let's do our chat draw. I think let's get this into its own window. And let's make sure I can do this. Oh, no, not that one. I want it over here. Share. No, let's do it this way. Doobie-doo. Okay, we have the giveaway. If you haven't entered yet, then make sure you add that hashtag Puzzle Cube into chat so you can be entered to win. What were they again? It was a hint from A&K and a $5 gift certificate to Shop Geocaching and a special one-of-a-kind Travelbug themed something or other from Cash's Corner Store from Brian. And we will Hey, I said share. Okay, and the winner will be contacted for that. Let's get this up here. Puzzle Cube. We have 18 entrants. Who is going to win? They really need to add a sound effect on this. The winner is Burnt Turtle is the winner. So I know Burnt Turtles is not in Ontario, but maybe he'll be able to make use of it in the future. But we'll get in contact with you, and we'll make sure that you can connect with A&K to chat if you want something. You can take a look at all the puzzles and figure out if there's one that you just really want to hit for. It might take some time. It doesn't have to be right away. But congrats, and we'll get you that information. Well, and we'll get you the other prizes for you. The other prize, once again, for patrons, to remind you, make sure that you email me before October 1st your nemesis puzzle. If you have one or more, just send me an email with that, and maybe we'll take a look at it at some point. Or maybe we'll pass off those puzzles over to the Puzzle Talk podcast. They do their shows on Tuesday nights, and they love to talk about puzzles. So maybe if there's a puzzle that you need help with, you might be able to solve it on the podcast, on the show. Also mention
get ideas.
Yeah. Well, so get that your email in. And if you aren't a patron, then visit patreon.com/cashtheline. And if you are in by October 1st, then and you email me your Nemesis Cache, then you will be in a draw for a $15 gift to Shop Geocaching. And plus all the other stuff you get becoming a patron. We
get notified if one of the Nemesis puzzles is ours.
Oh, that would be great. That would be hilarious. The final draw for, or the final winner for the path tag, the EGA path tag, is the comment that's received the most likes in the group for the adventure from this month. And this is public knowledge if you take a look at that post, but the winner is Carolina, our guest on this show. She has won the path tag, the exclusive path tag.
Sweet.
It was a really nice drone shot of the virtual that's out in Western Ontario at Jimmy's Castle, and that is an excellent cache. It is a 1.5 difficulty, I think 5 terrain, if I recall. It's not a 5.5, but it's a virtual, and it's great to visit. And I have an upcoming video a number of weeks down the line about that particular virtual. So anyway, congratulations to Carolina. That was not rigged. It just happened that she managed to post and get the most likes. So if you haven't joined yet, be sure to visit Cache the Line, Excellent Geocaching Adventures on Facebook, and join the group and share your adventures, because we love to see them and share the fun of geocaching, and it's inspiring. We like to see it. We like to talk about it as well. And on that note, I don't think there was anything else. Okay. So yeah, just to reiterate, BK649 and BK73. Your username. Puzzle Podcast. Yes. Geocache Talk Network is a collaboration of five podcasts. One, two, three, four, five, six. I can never get the numbers right. 6 podcasts all about geocaching. We have Challenge Talk, Geocache Talk that they do every Sunday. We have Gadget Talk, and that's a leaderboard coin. Puzzle Talk, and Geocaching with Kids. That's not a YouTube show, that's a podcast show, and then there's a blackout coin for that. So if you haven't visited Geocache Talk, connect with Geocache Talk on YouTube, subscribe, and all the podcast shows weekly are held on that channel. and I co-host Challenge Talk, which is the first Thursday of every month. So we only do one a month, and we have giveaways every month on Challenge Talk as well. So if you love challenges, tune into that. The next show for that is coming up on October 7th in 2 weeks. So tune in for that if you haven't already. And do you have any other final words?
No, thanks for having us, and enjoy solving the puzzles.
Try to enjoy. Yes, thank you everybody in chat for coming along and joining, and I hope maybe this has inspired or helped. Maybe you picked up a few hints along the way for some of the puzzles. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. This is an every month, the first Friday of every month show that I do for Fridays, TGI Friday, giveaways, all that stuff. And we'll see what happens next month for the last Friday of the month. Sometimes it's Saturday. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next month or in the next video. Watch for them. They're coming out. We've got this new series that's just started, which again is exploring Ontario, heading up north along the Trans-Canada Highway around Lake Huron and Georgian Bay up to the Lake Superior. Beautiful, awesome, lots of fun. So watch for that. Subscribe. And if you like this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Boop it, bubble boop it if you want. And we'll just say happy caching and excellent adventuring. And go into the outro, which is right here.